We're just going to go through reintegration and economic empowerment. I believe everybody in this room is an expert in this area because even our questions in MHPSS, they were bordering on reintegration. So we won't need to spend much time. Reintegration, reinclusion, reincorporation of a person. So it's like there's a there must be a return for there to be reintegration. So it's like adjusting back, fitting in again into the community or society. We know the difference between reintegration and integration now. Integration, you are going somewhere, you are in a different place, you are fitting in there. While reintegration is you are coming back and fitting in again where you left. So in IOM, we like to look at reintegration in a integrated. We like to use an integrated approach for reintegration. You look at it along different levels. So you're looking at it at the individual level, at the structural level, and at the community level. For reintegration to be sustainable, the person being reintegrated, I would refer to that person as the returnee or the return migrant, must have achieved levels of economic self-sufficiency and social stability within their communities so that they will be able to cope with the drivers of migration. Those things that made the person migrate in the first place. You have to be able to equip that person economically, psychologically, in all spheres, so that when that person is faced with those migration drivers, the person can make an informed choice. So I want to travel, not because traveling is a necessity or not because I must travel, but I am traveling because I want to travel. It is what I want to do, not necessarily what I must do. I don't know if you understand that point I'm trying to make. So your deciding to migrate should be a matter of choice, not a matter of need. That's the only time that reintegration is sustainable. Please go on. Okay. So now we're going to be looking at the factors that affect sustainable reintegration. Like I said earlier, we look at reintegration at different levels, at the individual level, at the structure, at the social level, then at the community level. So we need to take cognizance of different factors at different levels that impact on reintegration being sustainable or not. Next slide. So at the structural environment, some cross-cutting problems that we could have at that point are maybe like the policies, the law, insecurity. So you are looking not at the individual now, we are looking at the society, the social environment that that person resides. You are looking at the social environment that that person resides. So could it be the laws? Could it be the practices? What are those things? The policies? What are those things that could affect the reintegration being sustainable enough? So if we're looking at the individual level or at the community level, we're looking at things like maybe discrimination, lack of jobs, perceptions, like you're 40 and you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you feel like you're a failure. Such perceptions things like that, the labor force, community practices. Then at the individual level, we're going to be looking at things like your age, your skills, sex, gender, like maybe a young man who is 21, for example, very strong and active. There are some jobs that he can do very easily, different from a man that is maybe 45. So the output is different. So at the individual level, things like age, expectations to assets, skills, education, social status, and even debt can also impact on the reintegration and make it unsustainable. So that's where you can say, oh, okay, why did this reintegration assistance fail, or why did it not work? These are the different things that could cause it not to work. So things we can do at the different levels. At the individual level, provide comprehensive reintegration assistance across economic, social, and psychosocial levels. So, you are a returnee. I want to provide reintegration assistance for you, and I want to set up a business for you, and I open a shop for you, maybe a tailoring shop. I open a tailoring shop for you. But that's not going to be sustainable, because I'm looking at only the individual level. I'm not taking into cognizance the social level. Maybe you are the senior child in your family, and they expect that you are supposed to be paying the school fees of your younger ones and feeding the family. That business does not even have time to get on its feet before it may have to die, because I didn't take into cognizance that social factor. So you must take into cognizance the environment around the person. So beyond the individual, the environment, then even the psychosocial level too. Okay, you come back and I open a tailoring shop for you. Meanwhile, you've not even come out of the trauma that you experienced when you traveled. So you are not yet ready to deal with people that are coming to your business every day. So you have to take care of the three aspects. You don't just do one. Reintegration has to cover the three aspects for it to be sustainable. Then you must be flexible. You must prepare. By preparing, I mean, it's not just the first day you just meet the person, you just, oh, okay, oh yeah, let's start to do this. No. You try to understand the context from which that person is coming. So if it's somebody that is returning, you want to know about the person's activities prior return, so that you have an understanding of what challenges this person may be facing. So you prepare yourself by getting information beforehand. Then at the point you are interacting with the person, you have to be flexible. One size does not fit it all. You don't just assume that, oh, okay, and every young person, is either you do tailoring or you do salon or you do provision shop. No. That person may even have an idea that is, your work is just to guide the process. So you have to be flexible. Don't come from a point of view that this is how it is and this is how it should be. No. You see new things every day. Then you also follow up. So I set up a shop for you and that's the end. No. I set up a shop for you. I also, okay, how is business going? What are the challenges you have? It has to be a long-term continuum of care. So, because that person could also have further challenges, which if you do not address, that business you have set up will crumble and you are back to zero. So, after the setup, you also follow up. Then at the community level, you can foster communities of origin in reintegration planning to strengthen their resilience. You can say, okay, a lot of people migrated from Oredo. The fact that a lot of people are migrating from Oredo, what's happening? Is it that there are no jobs in Oredo? So at the community level, you can also address such things that could foster them staying when they come back. Then you also address the drivers of migration at the community level. Do you now need to do awareness raising? Do you need to advocate, maybe if it's infringement of rights, harassment, security? What are those drivers of the migration at the community level? So at the individual level, counseling, that's a reintegration support. Provision of cash. Sometimes the person may come back, even before you are talking about opening a business for you, you may need to give the person some cash to meet some basic needs. You know, all individuals are on different levels on the livelihood pathway. So like for somebody that is just at that sustenance level, doesn't have food to eat, you now need to open a provision shop for that person that is at the sustenance level. In 3 months, the shop will not be there because they will feed from the shop. So you need to understand the level of that person to know what kind of intervention to propose. So sometimes you could give provision of cash. You could also provide training, vocational training, technical trainings for the person, if the person is interested in skills. Then you could also provide legal support. Like maybe the person is, maybe somebody that was trafficked. And the person is interested in prosecution. You can provide legal support for that person. It could also be maybe somebody that is going through abuse in the home, for example, and needs legal support for separation. You can also provide legal support for sustainable reintegration. Then psychological assistance, referrals, access to social services. The person may need medical care. We facilitate access. Then at the community level, identification of community needs. So what are the gaps in this community? What are the needs? Then linking returnees and local populations. For example, you can have community-based reintegration where they can form cooperatives, and you can say, oh, okay, like we have in Igbobazuwa, for example. They produce a lot of pineapple there. So there's like an opportunity for value chain for pineapple, and we set up a pineapple processing factory there. So things like that can be done at the community level. Then psychosocial support to avoid stigmatization. So not just, sometimes you can meet with the family of the person returning or the person that has returned. Speak with them so that they can accept the person coming back, to prepare them for the return, so that the person that comes in will not be uncomfortable with stigmatization or be uncomfortable in the family. The reintegration process. Okay, so for reintegration, we have, it doesn't just start at when the person comes. We have before the person comes, then when you've come back, and after you have been set up, the follow-up stage. So at the point of return, the first contact you have with the returnee, you like try to, if it's maybe like they've contacted you that somebody has been identified, the person is coming back home and all that, try to do family tracing, try to counsel the family to prepare them for that person's return. If that's not the case and it's like emergency returns for humanitarian purposes, like what we have from Libya, upon return, you assess contact, assess vulnerabilities. So yes, everybody returns, but people have varying needs and varying vulnerabilities. So you're like going to, okay, is this person a single mother? Is this person a single father? Is this person an unaccompanied child? Is this a minor? Is this person a victim of trafficking? Is this person a victim of kidnap? Is this person needing medical attention? Is this person having mental health challenges? Those are the different stratas. So you need to assess vulnerabilities. Then the next step is the business skills training. For the business skills training, we don't want to set up a business for somebody that doesn't have basic financial skills, for example. So just like basic financial literacy, managing your books, understanding the concept of profit and loss, customer relationships. Not everybody will be set up in a business, but at least everybody receives this business skills training. In case you decide you're interested in a business, you have the basic skills needed to run a business. After the business skills training, we then have the reintegration counseling. So prior return, where it's not an emergency case, prior return, that returnee would have also gone through some reintegration counseling to identify what you need and all that to prepare. But in the case of emergency evacuations, the reintegration counseling is after that contact, you've already returned because there was no time for all that in bringing you back. So we have the reintegration counseling. During the reintegration counseling, you are documenting information on the person. Then you're also probing to find out what are the skills you have. You want to understand what are the capabilities you already have that we can build on. What are your thoughts? What are the things you want to do? So we know in what way we can support. Then you're also looking at what are the resources available to this individual. So yes, I want to help you stay and not go back. I want to economically empower you. But maybe you want to set up a business that would cost maybe 10 million naira, for example. It is at the point of reintegration counseling that we're able to establish, okay, these are the resources available. You understand? So you actually know your limits. Don't promise what you cannot give. What is it you want to do? That's where you get to understand what the person wants to do. That will guide you in whatever you're setting up for that person. That's where you also understand the stressors that person was experiencing before traveling to try and prevent it happening again and the person now wanting to travel back. Then after the reintegration counseling, you then have the implementation of the business plan. At the point of reintegration counseling, you help the person develop a business plan and then the implementation of the business plan. And then you still monitor. You cannot also rest. You need to still follow up. How is it going? What are the challenges? Somebody can come and tell you, they just broke into my shop and stole everything. Anything can happen along the way. The person can even set up a business. And after running the business for 3 months, discover that, no, this is not what I want to do. This thing is not working for me. I think I want to do fish farming. Totally different idea. But you cannot force that person to remain in that place where it is not working. That is where flexibility we talked about earlier comes in. You have to be flexible. And you have to always listen closely. You have to listen closely and be flexible. Okay. So we already talked about reintegration counseling. This is just the definition. Provision of information to the returnee on the reintegration process. Collection of information on the returnee, including assessment of potential situations of vulnerability, identification of needs, skills, motivations, opportunities, providing first-line emotional and psychological support to the returnee. So what's the role of the case manager or the counselor? So upon return, the person in charge of your reintegration process, the first step is to engage the returnee through reintegration counseling in order to better understand his or her background, professional qualifications, skills or resources that could facilitate sustainable reintegration. The next step is to assess these needs and resources. So assess the specific needs and resources in a holistic manner, taking into consideration economic, social, and psychosocial dimensions. So, you are a welder, for example. You have skills in welding. So it makes sense that I can set up a welding workshop for you. and you stay in New Benin area, and there are like 100 welding workshops in New Benin area, even though it makes sense that you already have that skill and I can build on that skill, it doesn't make sense that I set up that business for you in New Benin area that already has 100 competitors and you may not be able to thrive. So you have to assess those needs and resources. Look at it not just from the individual's angle, also from the social, the environment of that person and the community where that person resides. Then you provide support to design a comprehensive and realistic reintegration plan. So it's not just designing a reintegration plan, but that reintegration plan has to be realistic and comprehensive. So at that point of counseling, I'm identifying, okay, what are those things that could make this business fail? What are those risks you perceive you could have in running this business? What's the worst that could happen? What could make this shop close? So you're identifying those needs and you are already thinking of factors to mitigate this risk. Oh, okay, theft. Okay, so that means you have to rent a shop in a place where there's iron door. Things like that. Those risks have to come out and the factors that will mitigate the risk have to come out. Then the last point is follow up. So don't set up and relax. No, you must follow up and be flexible to, is it that you're adding to the value chain? So you can set up a fish pond for somebody. And when you visit in 1 year, you're buying the person over so the person can start drying in addition to just selling. So follow up to find out different ways of either expanding or if the person needs a new business idea, but there must be follow-up for it to be sustainable. So in the process of reintegration counseling, you must respect the returnee's ideas, the returnee's wishes. Do not impose, but rather you're listening. So you must respect that person's aspirations, respect the person's fears, respect the person's ideas and dreams. Then you must acknowledge, help them to maintain and reestablish full self-confidence. So this is the experience you've gone through. But I'm helping you to build confidence in yourself. Believe you can help yourself. Don't think you have to phone me as your caseworker. You need this one. Okay, so I need... Be able to think within yourself. Be able to feel... the returnee should feel that they are capable to help themselves. So you help build their self-esteem. When you are doing the reintegration counseling, there's also a question that you ask too. What impact does this assistance have for this return migrants? So what is the impact of this? Okay, so I'm setting up a tailoring shop for you. It's not just for economic empowerment. Does it have any impact on the community? Does it have any impact on the individual? Like, does it fit into the business plan of that region? Like maybe the government is having some incentives for people in agriculture, for example. So there's already like an attraction there that if you have an agri-driven business, you will have access to maybe a grant from the government and all that. So that person has to be able to feel driven, as in own the idea. Don't feel that you just told me to do this. No, there must be like a reinforcement of that person's inner capabilities. Then evaluation, helping them recognize their resources. And okay, so we've talked about this, establishing okay. Before integration counseling, the first thing you do, pick an appropriate place. Like I can't be having integration counseling in the marketplace. So you need to have a quiet place so that there can be like some form of confidentiality. Then establishing a climate of trust. I just meet you and I just say, hey, so how far now? What do you now want to do now? When you don't believe I can help you, will you tell me your problem? No. There has to be some establishment of trust. Then you explain the reintegration process. So I'm meeting you, I'm telling you, okay, so this is how it works, this is how much is available, this is how much we can go more than if you need something more, this is how it works. So I meet you, you give me these documents, I need these documents, and within a time frame of so, we can get this done. So let the person know everything that is going to happen. So it's not like, I don't know if they go, okay, today you go call me, tomorrow you go call me. No. Everybody has to understand how the process works. Then you assess vulnerability. Because it's not the same thing for everybody. You must know what vulnerabilities that person has to be able to tailor your reintegration assistance. Then you design the reintegration plan, close the first session, and plan follow-up. Economic reintegration assistance. Economic is not the only one. You know, you can provide psychosocial support, but most of the time, economic reintegration assistance is hampered upon because when you find out why the people travel, most of the time, or a lot, let me not say most of the time, a lot of the time, people will tell you, because I don't have funds to feed, or something like that. So that's why economic reintegration assistance is also very integral. Even when we're providing psychosocial, you find that economic also comes into the package too, to help that person's reintegration be sustainable. What are those things that will make this person not complete this training? Sometimes you can register somebody to learn a skill, and the person drops out after 1 month because they don't have transport fare to go. So things like that, you have to factor what are those things that will make this process not work, and includes them in the reintegration assistance. So yes, I'm paying for you to learn this skill, but I would also maybe provide lunch for you or transport for you to access this basic sustenance allowance. Important to remember, reintegration can be considered sustainable when the returnee has achieved economic self-sufficiency, social stability within their communities, and psychosocial well-being, which will help them to be able to cope with the drivers of migration. So those things that make people want to travel, you're being able to resist those things is because maybe your feet is steady now. That is when reintegration is sustainable. When you are able to cope with those drivers of migration, and when migration is a want, not a necessity. So collaboration and networking to extend the type of quality of services offered to the beneficiaries must always be explored. Follow up. After setup, you must always follow up. Thank you.